So, I want to talk a little bit about something. I don't entirely have it figured out yet. Thank you for listening. Um, I I'm very much thinking about my Gene Keys program as kind of the stage of this and drawing some really beautiful takeaways from how this has unfolded that I wanted to share and see, what does it wiggle in you? I would love to hear from you. So what happened? I I had the inspiration to create a three-part group program where the group would meet on Zoom one Saturday a month for 3 months in a row. And each Zoom would have about 90 minutes of me teaching about the first sequence, the second sequence, and the third sequence for the three Zooms. And then we would have a little bit of time at the end to talk. And so, I'm going to tell kind of two different threads of this story. The first thread is like the creative version of my intention with the content that I wanted to teach about is out of the three Gene Key Golden Path books that cover the three different sequences that are all by Richard Rudd. He's the founder of the Gene Keys. And so I've had these books for, I'm going to say like over a year now, and I have read them ish. I find that, they say like, what's your learning style? Like, what's your favorite way to learn? And almost always we're like jump straight to like beeline straight to like the auditory, visual, like those things. There are so many other ways to learn outside of just that very, very basic model. And almost all of us have so many different learning triggers inside of us that will like engage our ability to learn. And one of those such triggers, one of those levers inside of me is that when I sign up to teach something, that's where my deepest learning begins happening. It's like, I know that like I've set a date, I've set an expectation, I've, said this is what I'm going to deliver at this time. And my plan was to like go through the book, summarize what's in the book, which it's like, 150 pages or whatever for this first one, summarize what's in the book into like PowerPoint, mostly for me to be able to talk off of, but then also to have something to share, like when there are pieces that are more visual. And so that was my plan. And then I sat for about 5 hours and straight through, like summarized the book into the PowerPoint information that I wanted to share. And after doing that, I realized that there is absolutely no way that I can deliver all of this in 90 minutes. Like, that's just impossible. There's so much information here. And who is the person that's going to want to listen to that? That's going to want to like be held hostage for and like have a fire hose shoved in their mouth and then just like, here's all of this information. That's not helpful. The whole point is to like facilitate contemplation. And what I ended up creating, it's like there's so much, so many bites to contemplate. And this is not going to be fun to sit through as a Zoom. That was like my conclusion after creating the actual presentation of like the information I wanted to share. And from there, I decided, I'm like, what would be even more like approachable and like digestible would be to send it as a video and put chapters in there and like let them come back and watch, like I'm ready for the next chapter and I'm ready for the next 20 minutes and like kind of watch it chapter by chapter rather than like having anybody try to sit through absorbing all of this information in one go. And when I realized like, oh, I'm going to send it as a video, that piece felt really good. It felt like, ooh, that's going to make it even more valuable and effective as far as like helping to not only like bring up the energy to contemplate, but then also providing enough space and distance to actually have the capacity to contemplate it rather than just like immediately rushing on into the next piece like it would have been if I had done a Zoom. And so I pivot to video, feels amazing. And then I pivot again to, you know what, that does feel better for the people who are going to have to listen to it. And you know what would help it feel even better for me in that picture is to not try to make this whole PowerPoint into one video. Like, what if I made it into 8 videos instead? What if I didn't have to sit here today and record what's probably going to end up being about 3 hours worth of talking and explaining and contemplating and, just exploring in the Gene Keys. Hi, Scoob. Go on, Scooby. Um, and so, yeah, like instead of trying to do my original plan, I pivot again to what if this is 8 videos? So now instead of a Zoom, now I'm on to 8 videos instead of that first Zoom. And yesterday I recorded the first 3 videos, and it did end up being right at 60 minutes worth of content for the first 3. And I still have 5 more to just get through this first activation sequence. So at that point, I pivot one more time to like really lay out like, okay, so I was going to do 1 Zoom a month for the next 3 months, but instead I'm going to send 2 or 3 videos a weekend for the next 13 weeks. So those 13 weeks are over the next 3 months, and like basically from the beginning of February to the end of April. And that way, like not only are they going to watch it in chunks, which is definitely the most pleasurable way to think about that part happening, I can create it in chunks, which is the most pleasurable way for my part to happen. And so this is storyline number 1. This is like what ended up happening as far as like pivoting from a 3 Zoom journey to a 28 video contemplation series of this is now what we're going to do. And so behind the scenes, there was another piece that happened. And this is really where the creme de la creme comes into the story, because when I launched this program, or like, put it out there publicly that this is going to happen, the day that I launched it, I had 1 person sign up, and I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And so like at that point, like kind of like the universe saying, challenge accepted, like this is happening. Somebody has signed up. The February 4th first date of like, you're going to present about the activation sequence, like this is happening. And so like that person signing up felt like, I don't know, it felt like it had clicked together and the train has left the station, basically. Like it's happening. And then nobody else signed up. Nobody else. And so this whole like group program scenario, like between me and 1 other person, that part also like didn't feel super aligned to like only have it be me and 1 other person as far as like the group setting. That was not the intention. And I think there's multiple reasons that I want to draw this piece out. The first is I think it could feel possible to find disappointment somewhere in this scenario where like I wanted to facilitate a group program about the Gene Keys and then only 1 person signed up. So like I didn't fill the group. And like I think it would be possible to find failure or disappointment or just things not working out how you thought they were going to work out, like how you had originally intended. That's not what's going to happen. And the option at that moment, that we all would have in that moment of to fall into disappointment or to beat up on yourself because, nobody wanted my program or like whatever it is, that's like the thought that comes. I'm not saying I'm immune from those thoughts. They're still there. But so is another piece. And that piece sounds a lot like divine timing. That piece sounds a lot like, what if that's not the highest order? What if that, I mean, clearly it's not. It didn't work the way I thought it was going to. I'm saying 99% certain that the reason it didn't work the way I wanted it to is because it wasn't supposed to, that there's an even better option on the table that you didn't see it before, you didn't need to see it before. Okay, like in order to create the program that I was meant to create, I was meant to create this version 1, this 3 Zoom journey. I was meant to have the person sign up so that now I'm on the hook for like the February 4th date. And then I get all the way ready to go through my original plan on February 4th. And after walking through that part of the process, the vantage point that I have is that this is going to be a nightmare to try to have somebody sit through this Zoom. I'm so glad that I don't have a whole group full of people waiting for me to deliver this, because I think they would all hate it. I think it would be miserable for me and for them, because it's gonna be too much information at once. And I know what that's like. I've been there in a program where I'm trying to like force feed myself all of this information, and it's just too much. Our soft animal body can only take so much in one sitting. And so my deepest intention, my deepest value with creating the program in the first place is that it is valuable, is that it's a valuable facilitation of your own inner contemplation. That's my top value, my top intention. And so after I walked through the part of the process where I created this first chunk, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to pivot. I need to, like, this needs to be watched in chunks. And then I explained how that led to me creating it in chunks so that it's fun for them and it's fun for me. So that pivot of not not losing any time to disappointment, like, oh, it didn't work out. What if it wasn't supposed to work out? What if it did work out? What if this is exactly what was supposed to happen? The version 1 to version 2 pivot, the version 1 sign up, not filling the group. What if all of that is exactly how it was supposed to happen? Like, we get so attached. Oh, Carly, I see you. You get so attached, honey. And like, you want to get some fear, get a plan. You want to cause yourself turbulence, become attached to that plan. And I witnessed yesterday the value of having a strong value and a strong intention behind what you're creating. Like, it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to, like, set out this plan day 1 and then live every single moment of it to perfection, like exactly how you originally intended. What if the original plan was just so you would start? What if and I know this is a fact, what if I had originally conceived a 28 video series and then had to sit there and think, like, oh my God, like, that's Mount Everest. To think that I'm going to prepare for and record and edit 28 videos. Oh my God, like, I would drag my feet on ever starting that. And especially if it was just 28 videos that everybody's just going to like self-pace and watch at their own pace, there's no start date. There would have been no February 4th to like actually get me to go. And so it all worked out the way it was supposed to be. I thought it was a group program. It wasn't. That's okay. That doesn't make me a bad planner. It doesn't make me a bad creator. It means that the path of least resistance for this thing to get born was for me to have that date in my mind. February 4th, I need to be ready with the first chunk. And I was. I didn't record all the videos yesterday. I only recorded 3 out of the 8, but I have the whole month now to deliver the rest of the activation sequence videos. And then during March, I'll deliver the Venus sequence videos. And then during April, I'll deliver the Pearl sequence videos. And by the end of April, I will have 28 videos that then anybody, anytime for the rest of time can purchase access to that entire contemplation series. It'll exist for the rest of time, and I'll only have to create it this once. And I'm already thinking of fun things like, what would be really fun is to have still, like, the next time I run it, to do like the videos would already be created because I'm creating them this first time. And that at that point I could run it all again and still every week send out the couple videos that are for this week. And then once a month, come together on a Zoom with the people who are going through the series at that time and still have the interactive part where we can talk about your unique gene keys. We can talk about your unique challenge. We can talk about your unique breakthrough. We can get specific in that group setting instead of me trying to deliver a whole month's worth of material in one setting. And so I'm seeing how this is the most beautiful unfolding for myself and for others. And the cooperative components and the original ideas, and then the ideas to pivot and the timing of those pivots, and the self acceptance that kind of was the lubricant, especially yesterday through the pivots of like, I don't have to stick with the original plan. The person who signed up, who is expecting to have a Zoom to come to today, I'm going to tell them there will be no Zoom, and that you will get this weekend, you'll get the first chunk of material. And then next weekend, you'll get another chunk of material. And I'll just tell them that that's how it's going to be. I'll let myself have access to that option. That self-acceptance was the lubricant that let the pivot happen. There was no urge to save face. There was no urge to, well, I promised this person a Zoom and I have to show up and do a Zoom. No, I don't have to keep my word. If I figure out that what my intention originally was is actually more harmful than helpful, I'm going to change my plan. I'm not going to keep my promise to you. I'm going to continue to pivot into the most helpful, the most valuable, the most helpful, the most valuable. And if that means leaving my old plan behind, I will. Because I tried as best I could to set the right intention originally, and I set the perfect intention because it got me here. It got me here to the point where I have 3 videos complete and now I have 25 left, but I have a very approachable plan for how that's all going to happen. And I have the preparation done for the first 8 videos. So, I mean, it's underway. The momentum was born. And isn't that the point of the original intention, is to get you started? And then aren't you free to change up the game plan anytime you want? I don't know. These are questions for you in your life. In my life, I am free. I'm free to pivot my intention every time I realize I have access to a better one. That's my freedom. And I grant it to myself at every opportunity. This has been a joyful journey of unfolding already, and it's only just beginning. Creating this program is only just beginning. And by doing it this way, this is another fun part. By doing it this way, I found a way to like make it feel even more helpful, make it feel even more fun for me, which is to, there's only one person in the program right now. And so that means like at most there's like one other person that's going to watch these videos, and I'm putting in the effort now. And I personally find it really energizing to my momentum when people are interacting with and enjoying my creative outcome, like whatever I made. I want people to look at it. I want it to be seen. It's like pure Leo energy, that Leo moon shining through bright and clear, which, by the way, I'm recording this on February 5th, 2023, which is the day of the Leo full moon. So I love that we're even getting to have this conversation about creativity and all the different ways that you can switch gears in your creative process as much as you want. As there are no rules. If you find that like, I had this project and I've been, working on it for 40 hours and now I want to take it and do something completely different, or I want to throw it away and like make something different, or I want to like completely rework it. Like I really want to just scrap what I did and like make it in a whole different way. Like you get to do whatever you want. There are no rules. There are no rules. And there was also I didn't finish the story of how I made it more fun for me. So because I want people to see it, I decided these first 3 videos, I'll do a little marketing promo at the very end of them and call them a free preview and put them on my channel. This introduction to the Gene Keys, key concepts. And an introduction overview of the pathway of challenge, which is the first pathway in the Gene Keys chart. And then the life's work bubble, which is one half of the pathway of challenge. It's the first sphere on the Gene Keys chart. And last but not least, the evolution sphere, which is the other half of the pathway of challenge. So these 4 videos will be free previews on the channel. So 4 out of the 28 so far, and I may decide other ones that I want to make them into free previews. It's mine. I can do whatever I want with it. But that felt really fun, and it felt like, again, yes, I'm selling this because I'm putting my time into it, and we all have to put a roof over our head and all of that. But at the same time, like the ultimate value, my highest intention is that it be helpful for people. And so I do believe that this first hour to hour and a half of content, these first 4 videos that are part of this series, everyone can benefit from watching these, even if they don't want the rest of the series. Like if they don't want to go to the website and buy the thing, like just even watching the first 4 videos will get them thinking. It will connect them even more deeply to their Gene Keys chart. And then they have the option. Do you want to buy the rest of the series, or do you want to continue your journey by yourself, or not at all? They'll get to decide what they want. But I love the idea of like giving people a taste of like, here's what it looks like to deeply move into contemplating every single piece of our unique design, the unique process of individuation that we each came here to discover within ourselves. It is a beautiful, beautiful process to contemplate our Gene Keys. It's kind of the same ballpark, like tools for self-awareness, like to contemplate our Gene Keys, to contemplate our human design, our natal chart, to give ourselves the opportunity to deepen our relationship with ourselves and to come to a greater level of peace with who we are, the good, the bad, the ugly, the shadow, the gift, the divine gift. We are all of that. We're the dark and the light. And I think there's a lot of people out there who want to be only light. And even in New Age spirituality, it's like, just fill yourself with light, just become the light, shower yourself with light. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that sometimes, but the darkness is never going away, nor would we want it to. And I personally feel like there's a peace inside of dropping the rope, like giving up trying to win over life so that it'll only give you beautiful things. Like to say that you're not willing to accept some pain as an alive person is fighting against reality, and we will always suffer when we fight against reality. And the Gene Keys journey, it helps us accept reality. It helps us come up with a way to relate to reality in a way that doesn't make us the bad guy for having a shadow. It doesn't make us the bad guy for being a little bit, in our shadow sometimes. Maybe that's exactly normal. Maybe there's, like the Gene Keys says, there's a gift in every shadow. And so sharing this perspective with that many more people and being able to give away this this chunk of the material as a free preview, it feels really, really good to me. It feels like it's feeding me in a way where, again, it's like, I wanted to bring together a group. I wanted to facilitate a group program around this material, and the group materialized as one other person. And in the unfolding of that, this pivot came to share this part with the world, like give it away for free, give it to the public. Anybody can have it. And to think about the group that's going to form around those videos in these coming years, the free ones especially, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see like all the ripple effects that come out of that. And that wasn't part of the original plan. Like giving those away for free to everybody. That wasn't part of the original intention. That was born out of the quote unquote failure of the original vision materializing. It didn't go how I thought, and something even better came out of it, I believe. So I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear from you down below what this wiggles loose in you. And I thought I was done, but there is one more piece. There was a comment on one of my writing a book videos that is coming to mind, and how the question that came to send back to this person. Basically, they said, for the last 8 months, I have been like getting the inspiration that I want to write this book, that I need to write this book. There's something that's coming through me that wants to exist. And I have some ideas, but I'm still blank, even though I journal every day. And there wasn't really a question. It was sharing her experience with us. And I'm always grateful to hear your experience. It always gets me thinking, and, just percolating and all of that. So good. And as I sat with that, the question that came is very much kind of based on the floodgate moment that I had at the beginning of writing The Art of Truth Telling, where I wasn't trying to write a book. I just wanted to put some ideas on paper. And so the question that I asked back to her was, what if you leapt off the cliff and opened a Word document and wrote the story of, or just even some high level notes of, what has happened in the last 8 months? Like, what is the inspiration that's coming through? How does it feel? What is it bringing up in you? What memories has it brought forward that you haven't thought about? And I didn't put all of this, but this is the extra. What memories does it bring up for you that you're processing in a new way? How do you see your own leading edge more clearly through the reflection of this inspiration? Like, write about that. And in my experience, again, very much based on the art of truth telling, the reason that idea to write that book came, that ebook, The Art of Truth Telling, was because I discovered a personal truth of mine that felt extremely dangerous and extremely risky, even to tell the people closest to me, even to tell the people who I would normally say are my safe people. Like, I can tell them anything. I couldn't tell them this. And so, because of that truth that I couldn't tell, I wrote The Art of Truth Telling. And 2 days after I quote unquote finished The Art of Truth Telling, I'm still tweaking it a little bit here and there, but it's mostly complete. 2 days later, I wrote another ebook. And I'm not saying I'm ready to publish it, but I wrote the book of that truth that I originally realized. And in that process, I saw the art of truth telling was basically a palate cleanser. It was basically getting some mud out of the pipes so I could write what I really needed to write. And so I think sometimes it's like we don't write the thing that we really need to write because we don't feel ready. And it's like, if you don't feel ready, write about not feeling ready. Write about the process of getting ready. Write about the steps along the way of how you've gotten ready. Write about that and see if that doesn't open up the pipes enough to clear the mud out. And then what flows after that can be anything. It might be the original project that you thought you needed to write. It might be something completely different. You might write 3 palate cleansing books before you ever write that one that you're really thinking about. Inspiration is a funny thing. And I think we have, as a culture, some sneaky expectations of what inspiration is supposed to be and how it's supposed to behave. It's very elusive. And it's often bringing us things that do not result in some kind of creative artwork. Like, we get the inspiration and it brings us something even more rich than something that it wants us to create in the physical world. Like, we get so much inspiration every single day, and maybe 1% of it we're meant to take and turn into a piece of art that we share with other people. So what would it look like to write about that? And I think, even if you're not a writer, like, it could be, translate that into anything. If you don't know what to paint, what if you painted the feeling of not knowing what to paint? If you don't know what to carve in your wood carving project, what would it look like to carve a question mark? because I don't know what else to make. So let me carve this question mark. That's a creative challenge. How are you going to get the little dot to stay hooked on the little curly Q? You know, it's about getting the juices flowing. And perfectionism is one of the things that really fear, all perfectionism is fear dressed up in high heels and pearls, as Elizabeth Gilbert says. It's fear pretending to be noble and good. And all it is stopping us. So if you can't move forward, write about what it's like to be stopped. Write about what it's like that the inspiration just won't come. Write about what it's like to be blocked. What does it feel like? What does it remind you of? What does it make you afraid of? What's the worst case scenario that can happen if you just stay blocked forever? Write about that. And I guarantee you, if you put one foot in front of the other, no matter what kind of creator you are, you will move forward.